For those of you that are on, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. I'm going to start the video of our tour of the community center, and that's going to run for about 20 minutes. And then we'll start to get set up for the AGM, which will actually start at, the formal part will start at 7 o'clock. Okay, everyone?
Good morning. It's a very exciting morning. I'm here this morning with the Chartwell Maple Grove Residents Association Board with our town councillors Dave Giddings and Janet Haslett-Thiel. And
yeah, I don't know why I've lost sound.
The sound's gone, Nancy.
I want to do a little bit of a land acknowledgement for you. So I'm just going to read through this because it is scripted for us. So Oakville, as we know it today, is rich in history and modern traditions of many First Nations. As we gather today on the sacred lands of Treaties 14 and 22, we are in solidarity with our Indigenous brothers and sisters to honor and respect all our relations. The four directions, lands, water, and the original nations of the trees, plants, four-legged, fine-feathered, and crawlers, the grandfathers, and most importantly, the ancestors that walked before us. Oakville Trafalgar Community Center is located on the treaty lands and the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. We acknowledge and thank the Mississaugas of the Credit's First Nation, the treaty holders, for being stewards of this traditional territory. So, and they're actually just putting up one of our land acknowledgement banners as we are putting on the final touches, getting ready for the public tours tomorrow. So you are officially our first tour of public who have seen the building. Up until now, it has only been construction staff or town staff, so welcome and congratulations on being the first people. Don't tell the other groups, they'll get jealous. So you are standing in our lobby, as Brent mentioned, it's about 143 feet long. It's obviously very bright and has a lot of natural lighting. We're really excited about this space because, as you can see behind you, we do have a lovely cafe that will be opening shortly. The Reynolds Street Cafe is going to have smoothies and avocados, biscuits, things that you should come in and enjoy, and take a seat in our lounge when it's not open. In the meantime, when it is open, if you come in for a program or service, you'll be able to take a coffee with you at budget. As you know, I think most of you are aware, due to COVID, are not fully operational. For the moment, everything is by appointment only. So as you came in today, you can see we're directed kind of to the front desk. Recognizing that a lot of people are just going to want to come in and say hello and see the facility, we are going to keep the front door open, but the staff member at the front will direct them that they're only able to be here for a pre-registered program or two. Every day between now and October, I think it's 3rd, we have 2 tours a day. Some days there are less, some days there are more. But overall, we want to make sure that anyone that wants to see the facility has the opportunity to do so. And then we also have a number of pre-registered drop-in, as we're calling them. So they're regular programs, you just come once, but you do have to pre-register. Again, for the reason that you came in today for COVID tracing, we need to be safe and ensure that everyone's getting to enjoy the facility, but in a safe manner. As we go through the tour, if you have any questions about the building and you've read our programs, please let us know. Brent or I are happy to answer your questions. In addition to the cafe and this spacious lobby that we are going to have a piece of culture that's going to be added into our ceiling fixture. We're tentatively looking for about a mid-October official grand opening, which it will be in before then. This piece of culture that they're going to be added is a public art that is abstract in nature. So when you're looking at it, it's going to be built with LED lighting, and you will kind of just see it as abstract. But when you go to one point on the mezzanine, you'll be able to look down, and it will be that of a chimney swift. If you're not aware, those are the birds that are in behind us at the Old Dog Coast School. So that is going to be a really neat fixture that will be added in the next few weeks. Any questions about that so far? Great. As you're aware, unfortunately, our pool is not open just yet, but hopefully in early October. We're really excited about this pool because it is a full swap down, so you can see. I'm not just we'll go all the way down so you can all have a view.
So this is Oakville. So this is, when we first started constructing this was the first CMGRA pool system in Canada. We have been under construction now for a couple of years, so one other smaller pool has been built. So they do this for the bunch of having water in it, but it is a fully stainless steel shell pool system. The stainless steel is 100% recycled. So a traditional pool would have be all concrete with tile in it. So having the stainless steel shell allows us to keep the water in it for a longer period of time. So we're actually saving water. A traditional pool, you'd be draining every couple of years to do tile repairs, grout repairs. This one, they estimate between 5 and 7 years you can do without draining. You can see that the wall systems are all stainless steel. The pool actually has a vinyl floor that has an insulation it's for therapeutic benefits. It's kind of like a spaghetti strapping that provides cushioning to the bottom. So this pool that you're looking at here is what we're calling therapy pool. It's kept at 92 degrees Fahrenheit. So very nice and warm. It has jets along the south wall here where there's a little bench. And there'll also be a water feature added kind of where that first pylon is there that'll come up into the water. So it'll be great for therapeutic benefits as well as for children's programs and just general leisure. The lap pool is 25 meters, 6 lanes swimming pool. It's 12 feet deep, which mimics the Centennial pool that just recently closed. So this will be home to the Oakville Swimming Club as well. That is the reason for the deeper pool. We will keep that pool at 84 degrees. So for any of you swimmers there, that is the perfect temperature for doing swimming climbing. So this CMGRA pool system is constructed or the company built in Indianapolis in the United States. And another benefit to this type of pool is that the traditional pool system uses water to do the backwashing. This pool uses forced air. So we actually use 80% less water for this pool system. So very excited. As Jen mentioned, we're hoping this will be open at the beginning of mid-October and time for our grand opening on October 17th. Yes, you want to talk about the change rooms? Because that's very exciting.
We're doing Oakville's first ever universal change rooms. So we don't have the change rooms designated as male and female. As a result, all of the stalls are enclosed so people can change with privacy. There's also larger stalls so you can change with your families. This has been done in a few other municipalities and well received. So if you're coming with your husband, wife, kids, you can all be in the same change room, especially if you have young children or people that may have disabilities and are looking to be in the same change room. The benefit for us is if we need to do additional cleaning like is needed in COVID, we could close one without impacting male or female. We can continue to operate our normal service without disruption to you. So this is a very exciting service that we're going to be offering. If you want to look behind us now, you are looking at our 10,000 square foot gymnasium. We have a full-size NBA court, and running sideways here, we have 2 junior NBA courts. Junior courts, I should say. We also have 4 full-size pickleball courts.
How many pickleball courts?
4.
4.
We have 4 badminton courts and 2 full-size volleyball courts. The dividing wall does drop from the ceiling so that we can actually run 2 different sports simultaneously. We're looking to offer a number of leagues and services for adults as well once we get fully operational, hopefully in January. We'll take another look at the gym from upstairs because you can see it very well there.
Yeah, you get a great view from the one. It's not running right now.
Yes, so I've started to put them down, but we're going to have more of them. I don't love putting them on such a beautiful floor, but it needs to be done. which I will show you. Obviously, the therapeutic pool being one of them. Also, this playground is fully accessible. And as you can see, there's also some added bonuses that are more like gym equipment for adults to come out and use the playground. This playground is now open, the gates are open, so the public have already started to enjoy this space. In addition, on the pavilion, we do have accessible tables. And in the middle of them, they have checker and chess boards. So if you wanted to bring your checker or chess pieces and come out and play, you'd be welcome to do so. Just behind us over here, we do have a LED splash pad with a light fixture right into it. So that will be operational possibly a couple of times this year for your viewing, but then definitely all next summer. As somebody mentioned, we do have over 60 trees out here, as well as 3,000 shrubs planted throughout the property. So there's lots of natural beauty that you can enjoy. Feel free to take a few minutes and walk around.
And all the trees and shrubs are native to this area. They were very careful.
Upper mezzanine, if you will, and as I mentioned, there will be a spot, I believe it's somewhere around here. I have to wait to see it in action where you will get that perfect view of the chimney swift. In addition, so I mentioned some of this, about 4 different cultural pieces that have been added to this facility already. So the first one I mentioned to you. The second one is actually going up tomorrow. There's going to be a final image that will be on this wall that gives that history of the Culture Commerce School. So it's very nice because you can see the Culture Commerce School from here, so it'll be a nice piece to kind of tie in. In addition, right underneath us, when you came in, it was sanctioned off underneath the stairs. The museum has put together some information on the history of the site that will be in some light boxes that will go right underneath the stairs. All of this will be in for the mid-October date as well. So make sure to come back for another tour or a program at that time so you can check out all the new additions. Go ahead in here. So we do have a small meeting room in here. Right now, because we're still under construction, we've moved our construction crew up to this space. So it's a little bit of a mess. So we're not going to go into it, but it's just a small meeting room with a whiteboard, television, and seats about 6 to 8. However, due to COVID, it would probably seat 2. We'll go on into the next side. Excuse me, sir. I'm going to bring a bunch of people through for just a moment. Please be mindful of the wet seats. And as I mentioned, this is the 4th cultural piece that we've added. So this was just installed yesterday. So this is 4 individual quilts that have been hung together. Yes, Janet hasn't even seen this one. This was just installed yesterday. And this is installed by, it's actually made by a local artist. So it's very neat and it'll be great to have. It's actually from the town collection. So this will be a permanent fixture. There's a whole whack of information about here. So John Willard, and for this one, he has used this one cotton and polyester blends, and he uses it to inspire the traditional patterns, historical events, and especially the deconstructing patterns and designing quilts. So I don't know that this particular piece had.
Yes. Yes. You're welcome. Very nice to meet you.
The outer perimeter is about 117 meters in length. And as you can see, if you walk around the whole thing, we have a really nice view of our outdoor park where we just are. Our indoor walking studio or walking track will be available through drop-in passes or individual registrations or with a fitness membership. And then when you're up here, we do have 2 pieces of cardio equipment that would be available to you to use if you were using the track. Due to COVID, unfortunately, the rowing machine has to be decommissioned for the moment. Blowing of the extra air is not something that they recommend at this time, but at some point we will do that as well.
So are you getting people to walk?
Yes. So it's pre-booked times just so that we don't have crowded. concerns, taking a step in there if you'd like. We're still waiting on a few finishing touches for the facility. So in this particular case, Facebook should be here by the end of the month. This is a studio piece for Pilates, yoga, here's some weight training classes that is going in here as well.
I love that you have a weight holding the door. I just did that because I couldn't get in. I had to get the operator to get me the key, and I didn't have my fob on.
That's where I keep my fitness
Yeah.
equipment. Holding the door open.
Exactly. Has so many
tail
other
lids
purposes.
down.
And then this is our fitness studio. This has over 2,000 square feet, all brand new equipment. Our cardio equipment is attached to our technology, so you can watch Netflix. And as I mentioned, so this is perfect, open as of Saturday. If you would like to start registering for your drop-in time slot to come in and have a workout.
Hey, I was asked what the capacity is, the COVID capacity.
We take
8 people. That's what I said. I thought that's what it was.
based on square footage, we could go a little more, but when you look around, it's a little bit tight. And due to 6 feet, we actually do have to close off some of the equipment. We can't have them so close together. So we'll make sure there's at least one treadmill, at least one bike, but just that's why we've reduced our numbers, so there's not a long wait.
You know the timings that are available, Jen?
I believe it's almost every hour with a 15-minute interval between 10 and 3 tomorrow. And then when we're fully operational, ours is Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, some mornings and nights. We're just doing a slow introduction. If the uptake is there, we will add more, absolutely. But we just want to see how busy it is in the beginning.
At 7 in the morning or 8 in the morning.
I believe it's 7:30 some days and 8 the other days.
So is there Wi-Fi throughout?
Wi-Fi throughout the building, yes. Great question. Would you like to take a walk all the way around the track to see the view? Square feet. On this side is 1,200 square feet. We can open the wall and have the whole space to ourselves, or you can divide the wall just a separate wall. We do have technology in both rooms, so if you're having presentations, there's a built-in screen and projector. We also have Bluetooth technology, so if you need to play music from your video that you might have on, we can do that as well. We also have a servery behind you. It has a kitchenette, which is sink, microwave, and refrigerator. That is a shared space in behind the wall between the two groups, but you can close off if one of the groups wasn't using it and lock the other door, so you can still have a private casing for others.
And feel free, if you would like to go straight out the other door if you want to get a feel for what the gymnasium looks like right on the floor.
Men's change room.
Yes. Yeah, when else are you going to have that opportunity?
Just a little bit of real estate.
Nance, can you hear me?
I could hear you.
Hello, KCRA has got a power
Hello.
outage. Hi.
I understand there's a power outage, I've heard.
Hello?
Affecting a few neighborhoods, including our mayor. So for those of you that are on, we're gonna give everybody a minute or two more. Janet, were you trying to reach me? If anybody's trying to reach me, use the chat.
My power's going in and out, Nancy. We're
Yeah, I've heard. I got a message from the mayor. You plan for everything, but you don't plan for a power outage.
Just have to make sure the computer's not charged.
All right,
We're at 7, so.
we're at 7 o'clock, everyone. I can see that there are 32 people already logged in. I am sorry for those of you that are having some power outages. Hopefully it will only last a couple of minutes and then you'll be able to get back on. One of the people that is affected is Mayor Burton and Councillor Janet Haslett-Thiel. I have 7:01. We'll start at 7:02.
And you do have quorum, you only need 6 members.
I'm told we have quorum. We have 35 on the Zoom call and we only needed 6, so we're well above our quorum. I must say, I worried about everything. I did not worry about a power outage. All right, we're going to get started. Hopefully, those that are having difficulty will be able to get on for at least part of the meeting. Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning into this first, hopefully and last, CMGRA annual general meeting by Zoom. What a strange time we are in. According to our bylaws, we are required to hold an AGM every year to allow our members to review the finances and to approve the volunteers who are stepping up to sit on our board. Our year end is actually March the 31st, but of course we were in the middle of lockdown then. We waited patiently and finally in the end we decided to host this Zoom AGM in order to fulfill our mandate. Most of us have become quite proficient at the technology, so we thought we'd be able to do it. Of course, we didn't count on a power outage. However, I want to apologize in advance if there are any glitches. This is not going to follow a traditional AGM, our traditional AGM model. For instance, we're not going to have any guest speakers. We'll complete the business of the AGM promptly, and then we will move to a Q&A section. First, Allow me to acknowledge our distinguished guests. I'm not sure if everybody's on, but I'd like to welcome Mayor Robert Burton, Regional Councillor David Giddings, and Town Councillor Janet Haslett-Thiel. I am very pleased to say that these wonderful representatives of our local government will be our Q&A panel later in the meeting. Thank you very much for making yourselves available. It is our privilege to also welcome the Honorable Minister Anita Anand and our provincial MPP Stephen Crawford. And I know both have logged in, we've seen you. Fortunately for us, both live in our neighborhood and are full members of our Residents Association. Following the tradition in Halton, we are happy to start with the acknowledgement that these lands surrounding the Great Lakes are steeped in Indigenous history. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation for sharing their traditional territory with us. A few housekeeping notes. Please remain muted because there's no facility to have questions back and forth. We are having a look at the chat. If there's a message you're trying to get to us, use the chat function. We asked for and we received questions from residents in advance for the Q&A panel. Questions then therefore cannot be taken from the floor at this Zoom meeting. Please note that this Zoom meeting is being taped. We will be using the poll function to vote to approve the four motions that are required in the AGM. A reminder, membership in the Residents Association is just $20 per household. If you haven't already sent in the membership fee for this year, you can do so by going to our website, cmgra.org. I would like to start the official business of this meeting by getting approval to accept the minutes of our last AGM. These minutes have been posted on our website. A note on voting, 1 vote per household, and obviously one has to be a resident in the CMGRA boundaries. The motion to approve the minutes of the 2019 AGM was made by Lena Bradburn and seconded by Moira Matsubuchi Shah. Please see the poll on the screen and vote now. All right, there we go. Now, is that not cool? I mean, who will ever attend a meeting again? Anyway, there we go. Thank you very much for approving the minutes of last year's AGM. CMGRA was established in 2009. Was established in 2009 after the successful community fight against a gas-fired power plant in our neighborhood. As a residents association, our role is to provide local leadership on issues that may impact the quality of life in our neighborhood and/or our community. We also are engaged with the town, the region, and with the other RAs in discussions and planning related to services and infrastructure in our town. 2019 was our 10th anniversary. We were going to have a huge party, but that didn't happen. So to mark this milestone, rather than a party, we have made arrangements for a dedication of one of the trees in the new community center park to acknowledge this 10th anniversary. And there I am standing at the tree. It's located near the children's play area, and it is a native tree. It is one of the tulip trees. If you remember at the last AGM, we were deep in the fight against the regional governance review. CMGRA was one of 10 residents associations that formed the group We Love Oakville. It was We Love Oakville that led the grassroots fight that forced the Ford government to back down on this. We were fighting for Halton, but the government ended up backing down for all 80+ communities that were under review. Letter writing campaigns do work. Never underestimate the power of a small group of thoughtful people. We now understand that letters from Oakville formed the majority of the letters that were received. Thank you to everyone who participated and supported this effort with us last year. We Love Oakville continued after COVID-19 shut down the country. We supported the Oakville Community Foundation's efforts to raise funds for residents in need because of the lockdown. The group will continue on an as-needed basis from here, and CMGRA has promised to remain an active participant. I really cannot continue without addressing COVID-19 and the impact the pandemic is having on our community. It now looks like we are in the middle of a second wave. Halton's numbers have looked okay, but in the last few days, our numbers have also gone up. It is very important to maintain these COVID-19 protocols. Now is not the time, unfortunately, to be expanding our bubbles, even though Thanksgiving is in a few days. Let's plan to give thanks digitally this year. In the midst of all the uncertainty and the fear, one has to admire how the businesses are adapting. We really must continue to support local businesses wherever and whenever we can. When we finally get to the end of the pandemic, we want our favorite local businesses to survive. So please, shop locally and order takeout whenever you can. This segues beautifully into a report on our downtown. Last year, there was lots of unhappiness with the way that phase 1 of the Lakeshore reconstruction was going. Everyone learned a great deal in that first phase, and I am happy to report that phase 2 is almost complete and is on time. If you haven't been downtown in a while, be sure to take a walk there soon. It really looks wonderful. I'm happy to report that the Downtown Business Association has signed Forget-Me-Not Flowers to coordinate the streetscape for the fall and for the holidays. We understand the goal is to transform the downtown, and I have been assured that they want us to be awestruck when we see it. I can't wait. Other news though, it doesn't look like we will have the traditional Santa Claus parade. We will be having a Christmas tree though, 2 in fact, but obviously the tree lighting ceremony will have to be modified. More on all of this will come out in the next few weeks. I am sure some of you have seen the lawn signs about the Amazon warehouse at 2175 Cornwall Road. This site is not in CMGRA jurisdiction, but we are happy to support our colleagues at the Joshua Creek Residents Association who have some concerns, particularly about traffic. It looks like a second traffic survey has been ordered, and Amazon has suggested that, that they will hold a public meeting. We will continue to monitor this development. Glen Abbey. The Glen Abbey fight continues. The next stage on this is the LPAT meeting in August of 2021. CMGRA supports the town's position on Glen Abbey. In fact, CMGRA supports the importance of our town being able to decide for itself how and where growth and development should be allowed. My apologies for the dog. Somebody's supposed to be looking after him. One moment. In fact, CMGRA supports the importance of our town being able to decide for itself how and where growth and development should be allowed. This is what the Glen Abbey fight is all about. We have participated and have supported the public process that allows input from residents in the development of the official plan. Recently, we also participated in the region's official plan review. This participation is important because the town has to fit its own plans into the direction that is set by the region. In my opinion, a residents association's role has to include participation in this kind of future planning. Right now, they're talking about planning to 2051, the year 2051, with a growth of 470 residents to a total population in Halton of 1 million. We are participating in this because it is the planning for our children and our grandchildren. And if we don't engage and participate, we may miss an opportunity to make our town better. And that just can't happen. Our key interests: we would like to ensure that the funding of the growth does not fall entirely on the current residents of this town. We also want to see adequate parkland and green space be allowed for in any development. We want to be sure there is adequate separation between incompatible land uses, and we want to be sure that the environment is considered in any planning decisions. There's a good amount of development going on in our town. If you are interested in anything going on, get in the habit of visiting the town's website, oakville.ca. The applications for developments, large and small, are all posted there. You can look up zoning bylaws. Council meetings are now being held live on video, and then they're being posted on the town's YouTube channel. You can watch the meetings in your pajamas at home, much like some of you are surely doing right now. It is easy to be engaged if you're interested. CMGRA will continue to monitor the various condo developments in the downtown core. There are at least 4, with more coming all the time. And we will also be monitoring the 2-tower condo development at the Trafalgar-Cornwall intersection. This Midtown area is due for major growth, but development is currently held back by the lack of provincial funds for infrastructure. CMGRA attends and is represented on the monthly Mayor's Community Leaders Roundtable meetings. Our councillors also host quarterly Ward 3 meetings for the 5 Ward 3 residents associations here. Every resident in Southeast Oakville is represented by an RA. This level of resident engagement is quite unique in Ontario. Oakville is the only community that has as many active and engaged residents groups. Way to go, Oakville. We do our best to liaise with the town about speeding and traffic calming on our streets. This is an unbelievably frustrating issue. Every single public meeting I attend has someone concerned about speeding on residential streets. If this is your concern, know that it is ours as well. 2 more items, the last 2 in fact, and ending on a positive note. We are very, very pleased that the Ford company is investing in our local plant to produce electric vehicles. Ford is a major community partner here, and we are very happy to know that the future there is bright. And lastly, we are very happy that our community finally has a community center. CMGRA was part of the RA group that lobbied to get the community center on the soon-to-be vacant hospital lands. Much went into the lobbying, and I won't bore you with the details, but it was almost 10 years in the planning. And now it is open. Congratulations to everyone. You must go and see this facility. It's gorgeous, as you could see from the video that we showed at the beginning of our meeting. Hopefully you are now enticed enough to take a class at this state-of-the-art facility. This is the end of my President's Report. I'd like to move that this President's Report be accepted. This motion has been seconded by Danny Morowitz, and please vote using the poll in front of you again. It certainly looks like we have approval for the President's Report. Thank you very much for that. I'm just loving this polling function. It is now my pleasure to introduce our treasurer, Mr. Rick Snidel, to present our financial report. Rick, you're on.
Thanks, Nancy. Do you want to give me a thumbs up? My audio is okay?
Your audio is great.
Well, good evening, everybody. Let's take a look. And I have to remind you first that we're looking at a balance sheet from 6 months ago due to the travails of the COVID pandemic. But 6 months ago, that's a pretty solid balance sheet for you. Cash of over $9,000 and a legal contingency fund we save for emergencies, and a good solid operating fund of 5671 you can see on the screen. So a pretty solid balance sheet. And if we move to the statement of operations, you'll see the membership fees for March 2020 were actually up substantially over the previous year, but there was so much activity on the We Love Oakville and Stop Amalgamation that it really was a boost to the membership fees last year. So we'd love to keep it at that level. The expenses are pretty consistent, except that the donation to We Love Oakville for the year just ended was substantially less than $1,000 we put into We Love Oakville the year before to make sure we won that battle, to make sure that Oakville remained our own town and not part of some mega city or something like that. So there is your income statement. If we move down to the next statement, you can see that in 2020, we actually had an excess of disbursements over receipts, which was good because we had a deficit the year before that. And at the end of the year, we've got an operating fund left of $5,600, which is quite healthy. But I did want to remind you that most of the revenue that funds CMGRA comes after the AGM. And even though we had revenue last year of over $3,000, this year, because of the big delay in the AGM and the fact that we haven't rented a place with tables to collect money from members and all kinds of speakers, we're only about halfway there this far this year. So after the meeting, assuming you're thrilled by this format, not that I want to do it again, please go to the website and pay your annual membership fee of $20, which would be greatly appreciated. Looking forward, we've got a strong operating fund. If anyone has any other questions on the financial statements, go to our website and send me an email, and I'm glad to answer any questions you may have, but we're pretty solid. And I think we can now move to the resolution to approve these financials.
Perfect. So we have a motion to accept the financial report as presented, moved by Rick and seconded by David Bird. Please see the poll. Honestly, this is so awesome. Yeah. And it does look like Rick The treasurer's financial report has been approved. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
The last item of business in the AGM is to vote on the new board of directors. I do want to take this opportunity to thank the 3 board of directors who have served so well in the last few years, but who are now moving on. A good Zoom shout out to Jim Goodfellow, to Lee Battiston, and to Damien O'Hara. It's really important to acknowledge the time and effort that everyone on the board contributes to this community. These volunteers believe in our community, they believe in giving back, and believe that engagement can contribute to change. Thank you to my colleagues for your contributions. I really appreciate all of your help and your support. I would also like to acknowledge 2 new volunteers who have so graciously stepped up to sit on the board. David Mallon and David Bird have been added to the slate of directors to be approved tonight. And know that we're welcome, we welcome new members anytime. If you're ever interested in volunteering, getting involved, just get in touch with me. So the motion on the table to approve this slate of persons proposed was moved by me, Nancy Robertson, and seconded by Jim Goodfellow. Please vote now. And sharing the results. All right, everybody, it looks like, oh, there were 7 abstainers, probably members of the board. Anyway, thank you very much for approving that slate of directors. We will carry on with the business of CMGRA.
Janet's on.
Janet's on. All right. Is the mayor on? Okay. So the next, that's it. That is the end of our business. Now we actually are moving on to our Q&A panel. And so if we could just get Dave, Regional Councillor Giddings, Mayor Burton. I don't know, is Mayor Burton there?
Present.
Oh, good, okay. And Councillor Hazlitt Thiel to be unmuted.
They are.
And so again, let me remind everybody that these questions, we asked for questions to be presented to us in advance. And then the board went through the questions and came up with 6 that sort of covered all of the things that we were asked to cover. So the very first question is actually for Regional Councillor Giddings. And this is about our green space. How can residents, particularly during the pandemic, become more involved in the maintenance of green spaces? And how can this be organized?
Thanks, Nancy. First of all, thanks for having us here, and thanks for what the CMGRA does. We know that we can always count on you to represent the neighborhood and the residents, and we certainly appreciate that. Yeah, we've seen a lot of interesting behaviors since the start of the pandemic. The good news is more and more people have been visiting our parks, our trails, our open space. They're bringing picnics with them. Unfortunately, all too often, they aren't taking their garbage home with them. It's compounded when we see residents that are going away for the weekend or don't want to buy a garbage tag, stuff that green bin that we have a lot of, and so it's automatically full. You know, our staff may have emptied it the day before, all of a sudden it's full, and then you get dog walkers and people with Tim's cups and everything else that have target practice just to get it close to the bin. A lot of that finds its way back into the park. So we have people with poor behaviors, compounded by the fact that our Earth Day cleanup was canceled this spring. It was in the early days of the pandemic. Our staff numbers, particularly our summer staff, were cut way back in an effort to save some money. And so what I do is I walk with my bag. I have my little senior citizen sock picker-upper to save me the effort of bending over all the time. And I pick up the trash. The people that sponsor parks and trails do the same thing. So the best thing is, if anyone feels comfortable, by all means, fill a bag. If you see full pails, reach out to Councillor Janet and I, or let Service Oakville know right away so that green bin can be emptied. And also, don't know whether you've noticed it, but we have 6 or 8 sites in our area that are receptors for large loads dumping, vans, trucks, dump trucks at the side of the road and the end of dark streets. And so we appreciate people letting us know about that as well, because they grow exponentially, often overnight. And what is with people with their PPE, masks and gloves in shopping lots? If somebody could explain that, I'm at a bit of a loss.
I don't know. I don't get it. And of course, I don't want to pick it up if I don't have gloves on. So I hear you. That's a tough one. I don't know how people, I just don't know how people can do that. But anyway, there we go. What about the, one of the ideas we had on Earth Day was just for, as you're out, if there's so many people walking, having a garbage bag with you and just picking stuff up as you're going along. I mean, that's one thing I did on one of my walks. I go down in a trail along the creek, and I just regularly take a garbage bag, not a big bag, but a little grocery bag, but I pick stuff up as we go. It's one idea
Exactly.
people could actually do. Thank you, Councillor Giddings. Second question is for Mayor Burton. Mayor, yes, there you are. How has or will the change in LPAT affect the Glen Abbey case, the development at the Whole Foods side, the Amazon proposal? I guess this is, could we have your comment about the new LPAT system?
Delighted. Can you hear me all right? A thumbs up will do. I'm delighted to comment on the new LPAT. The new LPAT basically tore down a big gain that we had achieved with the previous provincial government, where council's decision was to be upheld through a review process at the LPAT. And the only jeopardy of the local community would be if we had not followed the rules. So as long as we followed our official plan and the Provincial Planning Act and the provincial policy statement, council's decision would stand. The new government, which campaigned in favor of preserving Glen Abbey, and Stephen, I'm still looking forward to you and Effie saving Glen Abbey, according to your party's platform. They brought in a change where the LPAT now is the old OMB with a new name, and it conducts de novo, brand new hearings and substitutes its process for the public process that the council has been through with the residents. And the result is that there's a much higher level of jeopardy against our town and our local decisions. I'm incredibly pleased with the way our MPPs defended our town during the amalgamation crisis. And in fact, I awarded them both the keys to the town in honor of their efforts. But I remain anxious to see them deliver on their campaign promise to save Glen Abbey. And the change to the LPAT was a change in the opposite direction. And they need to answer for that at some point. On the Midtown Towers at the Whole Foods Center. And for that matter, there's a development proposal in the TCRA area down on McDonald. You know, you go way down Trafalgar. The applicant there and at Whole Foods, what they're both doing is a variation on saying, well, it's really close to the high density part of the urban growth center around the GO station, and therefore let us be higher density than we should be anyway. And we have an official plan and zoning bylaw that conforms to our official plan that was put together with 2 years of extensive public consultation with you, your group, and all the other RAs in town. It was unanimously adopted in 2009 after those 2 years, celebrated at the council meeting by the RAs. One RA leader said, "It feels so good to live in a place where the council listens to the people." And that's your council. That's your council's theory of life and has been ever since. And it's just too bad that we have to deal with an LPAT that is out of sync with Oakville. But I remain confident that we will win these cases. I regret very much that the government changed the LPAT to introduce this higher level of jeopardy and this greater level of threat to our plan for livable Oakville. But I have gotten to know our MPPs pretty well, and I'm really feeling confident that they get Oakville and they understand the problem. And I'm hopeful that they will yet influence the government to reverse course and be a little more resident friendly instead of so developer friendly. I hope that wasn't too long of an answer.
No, and it's certainly as a residents association, I would say that you know, we agree that we think that the people who actually live in the community should have a say in what goes on in the community. And our fear with the new LPAT is that we've lost the ground that we gained, and certainly Glen Abbey's going to be a test for this community at the LPAT. And
yeah, the horrible jeopardy includes that you can't really appeal the LPAT decision. And so, you know, not only do they get to start over, but they get the last say. And that's greatly to be regretted, I think.
And residents are really, you know, it's so difficult to present in front of an organization like the LPAT that, you know, residents are, it's going to be tough to fight a developer.
Listen, in plain language, this government changed the LPAT to deal residents out of the picture. You literally have been told in so many words that your only appropriate input to the planning process is at the front end when you create your official plan or an official plan amendment or the zoning bylaw itself. The rest of the time, you are to be seen and not heard. And I regret that that's the way we've gone, but there's been a tendency to centralize power in Ontario in Queen's Park and to diminish local say. And you can see it in hospital boards they're not real boards of directors. Most of their authority has long ago been stripped away and sent to Queen's Park. School boards have been stripped of power. Your local council has been stripped of power when it comes to planning because of the LPAT changes. And it's greatly to be regretted. Ontario is a fabric, it's a tapestry of many different communities and every community has its own preference and its own style. And centralization in Queen's Park it's the enemy of local differentiation. And someday, somebody's going to wake up and understand that that's not the way Ontario wants to be.
Well
I
said.
do pray.
Yeah, well said, Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, so third question, Councillor Haslett Thiel, are you up? Yes, there you are. So this is an interesting question, and it deals with a very specific property. However, perhaps you're able to speak to zoning bylaws and variances in a broad way as well. The question is, how were the significant variances granted to the developers at 2088 Lakeshore Road East? Are there special rules for influential developers? Oh, Janet.
Thanks for the question, I think. Okay, well, good evening, everybody. Glad the power's back on. Let's start with the second part of that question. Are there special rules? Clearly not to my knowledge. And if you ever take a watch of planning and development, you will see that council's very pointed in our concerns regarding zoning and official plan amendments. We don't take it easy on the developers. And even if a developer is local or otherwise, generally the message on the street is Oakville has a high bar in terms of our requirements on applications. I will say that we know that this developer, and for those of you that don't know the property we're talking about, it's the big orange building on Lakeshore, just east of Maple Grove, about 5 big lots over on the south side. So it is a ward, a local developer in our ward. I've never met him, and he's actually never picked up the phone to talk about the application. So I'm not sure how he has any influence. And while we have and do continue to meet with people who say, can we talk to you about an application we want to make? I've learned very quickly from Councillor Giddings, our job is to listen and to advise them, have they had a community meeting, or they spoke to the neighborhood, etc. So in terms of development, I would say I get the skepticism, but absolutely they don't have any influence. They just have to do it right. So let's talk about that property. That property didn't go through a zoning and official plan amendment. They went through the Committee of Adjustment. And most of you know the Committee of Adjustment is independent of council. And in fact, councillors don't speak at the Committee of Adjustment, and we are not to try and influence that application or a committee member. Our job is to make sure you as a resident are informed about the process and how you can speak up, and what will happen if you show up at a Committee of Adjustment, and how you can make sure you speak to the 4 planning tests. We help you with that, but we are not the decision makers at the Committee of Adjustment. There were 7 variances on this. I'm not going to go through all 7 of them. To remind you of what's involved in that, the committee gets their application. Residents who have concerns for or against can speak, as well as the applicant, and the planning staff actually write a report as well from their perspective about the 4 planning tests. And those 4 planning tests include, does the application comply with our official plan? Does the application meet the intent of the zoning bylaw? Is the proposal desirable and appropriate? And finally, is the request minor in nature? So those of you that know the orange building are probably thinking, so how is that scale and height minor in nature? Doesn't strike me as minor as well. So we went to the planning staff and asked them that same question. And here are some facts that you need to be aware of. So they compared that application to several other properties on Lakeshore. 1111 Lakeshore, 1150 Lakeshore was a benchmark, 2054 Lakeshore, 1502 Lakeshore, and then 1 Maple Grove. They had variance requests similar in nature. In fact, 1111 Lakeshore was 17.3 meters in height, whereas this application asked for 13.8 meters. And the Maple Grove one was 13.56 meters. So the height that they've been granted is quite similar to heights that have been granted on those properties, because they're special, because they're large, and in part also because of the depth. What makes that building a bit of a sore thumb right now is clearly it's orange. It will not be orange forever, I can assure you. It also doesn't have the landscaping in place. It was the only time we actually saw this application was at site plan. And we had quite the conversation about trees. The mayor will remember this because I was a little apoplectic about the number of trees that they were going to take down that on this plan. They are going to plant 10 20-foot lindens in the front of the building. That will certainly soften the look and feel, and it will not be so in our face, particularly when it's not orange anymore. In addition, they have another 8 other trees that they have to plant around the property, and we suspect they will plant more once they're at that point. I can assure you that if you have a concern about a committee of adjustment application, call Councillor Giddings and I, email us at ward3@oakville. We'll make sure that you have the information you need to speak up and be comfortable at speaking to the committee of adjustment. If you see a sign and you go, well, we want to know more, we can send you a link to make sure that you know what's going to be developed potentially in your neighborhood. Our goal is not to stop good development, but it is to make sure that they understand that you may have a concern and maybe they want to make some adjustments so that they're good neighbors to start from rather than having an argument from the very beginning. So if we can facilitate a conversation between neighbor to neighbor and make sure you know your process, we're here to do that. I'm not thrilled that all of these variances got approved, but I understand the rationale. And I can assure you that from everything I've been able to research, there was no influence or undue influence. Hopefully that helps.
That does help. Actually, I do want to just point out that I was told that there's no neighbor, nobody actually put a letter in that went against any of the variances at that particular house. So, if people have an issue, they really need to put their hand up, write a letter, call the counselor, whatever. You actually have to step up. Okay, next question. This is the question that I referred to in my president's report. It has to do with vehicle speeding. Is the town, and this is for Regional Councillor Giddings. Are you here? Yes, there you are. Is the town planning to deal with vehicle speeding and excessive noise in our neighborhood? And if so, how?
Thanks, Nancy. You talk about, are we planning to do something? We have been doing a lot and we will continue to work on this. Talking about poor behaviors, there's been a large increase in terms of noise complaints this year. Some of those are a result of vehicles, obviously, speeding and their aftermarket equipment, if I can call it that. Just last week at council, a motion was passed unanimously asking the province to have the Lieutenant Governor put forward the act that will see Article 75.1 put in place, will allow for the prevention of aftermarket modifications. I think we'll all agree that whether we've been having dinner downtown on Lakeshore or sitting in our backyards, we can hear a number of these vehicles from a very, very long way away. The other issue that we have seen is that of vehicle speeding throughout the town. And we have, Halton Regional Police had a special task force that was put into place. You may have seen articles inside Halton that have dealt with that, where they have gotten large numbers of street racers and have charged them appropriately. So with that, our speed surveys we use to look at the warrants in terms of the radar display signs that you see in the area, or speed bumps or other control measures, have been thrown off a little bit. Traffic patterns have changed. There were less students in school. there are more people at home and traffic patterns have changed. We're looking forward to that getting somewhat more back to normal so we can have those done. And that's what judges any actions that we take in terms of modifying the area. But Mayor Burton, as chair of the Police Services Board, can probably attest to some of the currents throughout the region overall and Oakville specifically. Mayor?
Well, I can tell you that speeding and noise are pretty high on the list of citizen concerns. The police are somewhat busy with slightly more dangerous things like, as you've been reading in the paper, ranging from trafficking to drugs to shootings. So, you know, we have to balance what we do. But we do have a unit, as Dave mentioned, and they do respond to complaints. And I'm happy for you to funnel your complaints through me. I don't know why it is that as chair of the police board, the police listen to me so attentively, but I'm willing to use that on your behalf. And I can tell you that there's been nights down on Lakeshore when Wendy and I have thought that the noisemakers are following us around and that we've accidentally chosen the nights when the unit that's supposed to be chasing them is off duty. Yeah. But we will continue to press those folks. I have on speeding, I have an incident to tell you about. Not in your neighborhood, but in another one. I had a young father certain that there was horrible speeding going on in his street. I got the police to stake that street out for a week, and they found one speeder. And I had to explain to the guy that one swallow doesn't make a summer. And you can't afford your taxes if you want a cop on every corner. So you have to tolerate a little bit of wiggle in the world. And but I will tell you that we have a radar gun that we will give you to shoot the speed of the people running by you, if it would help you, because a lot of people perceive speed that isn't there. Like you could stand on the corner and have somebody go by you at 40 and think it's 60. So so anyway, we do have this radar gun available. If it would you know, if you're interested in having a little self-education about what speed really feels like when you're standing still, watching them rip by. So I hope that helps.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give you some context for it.
So we don't have to use the blow dryer. We could actually borrow a speed gun.
Yeah, I can give you a real radar gun.
Nancy,
okay. Yeah.
If I could just add photo radar.
Yes.
The province has allowed to be put in place. I'm looking forward to that. It's very contentious amongst people. We've been at residents' meetings where we ask for a show of hands, and it's amazing how many people don't want photo radar in their neighborhood because, you know, that's where they drive. The photo radar, when it comes, it will be in school zones and community safety zones. Those are the two areas that the province is allowing us to make use of it. As the mayor said earlier, that's where we get our powers from. And when they are installed, we also have to have large signs stating that the photo radar is in use. So it'll be kind of a pre-warning, if you will. But I, for one, am looking forward to it. Curious other people's comments, if they want to email them in or through the CMGRA. I'd appreciate the feedback.
Absolutely.
You know, on photo radar, can I just put a word in there? The municipality only has 1.5 days a month of provincial court time. And the underlying defect of this whole photo radar scheme that the province has given us is we haven't got enough court time to actually process the tickets. So this could turn into a joke. There is an alternative method of dealing with these offenses, which is to make them administrative
That's
penalties. And the province is not given the authority to do that for speeding. So if Stephen is taking notes, if he wants to do something for what after all is his neighborhood, he could get us that power, because then we could really enforce the speeding. And then finally, Nancy, you gave me my favorite speeding story ever a couple of years ago when you said to an AGM, last year you said you wanted speeding on enforcement on Morrison, and I called the police and they gave us some. And I heard, I think you said, that a lot of the tickets went to local residents. So I'm just asking, do you want me to call them back and have some more of that? And everybody sat on their hands, and it was a very funny moment.
Yes, well, it is true. It is true. The speeding is done by ourselves, usually not paying attention, but I've been on the speeding issue, and I'd love to see photo. I'll stand with a radar gun on Wedgwood. If anybody wants to stand with me, I'd love to see what they're doing there.
I'm happy to stand with you. I'll bring you the gun.
Okay, that's a date, Mayor.
It'll be fun.
It would be fun, just not in a rainy day. They don't speed in the rain. We're almost up to, I wanted to try and be done by 8 o'clock. We have one more question. It's I don't know if you can be short with this, Mayor, but the question is, what is and what will be the projected impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on Oakville in terms of planning, budgeting, and resources? Are you able to explain that in a few moments?
Yes. In fact, start the timer. I think I can do this really quick.
Okay.
Thanks to Stephen and Effie and Doug Ford and the $6 million or so that we were given to help us over the COVID hump. And with our own, I have to say, fabulous management, where we cut costs while protecting the enterprise that is the town. It looks to me like we're gonna break even on the deal.
Wow.
We did have revenue losses, but we just like we did it in the recession, we cut expenses wherever we could, and so it looks to me like we're going to be net zero. We're not going to be eligible for a second round of provincial money, is the other way of putting it. And that might make Stephen happy. And I can tell you that next year, Council is on track to deliver a budget that does not increase taxes more than CPI. And that will make 12 years in a row that we've achieved that. So you can relax. You're going to be okay.
That's awesome news. I think everybody could probably agree. And actually, if you really want to try something, down there in the bottom of your screen, reactions, you can hit reactions and do a clap emoji on your screen. I'm teaching you all. There's the thumbs up. All right.
All right. You guys are good at this stuff.
We're good at this stuff, man. Okay, so I'm gonna, oh, David's clapping for real. Thank you to everyone who sent in a question. That's awesome. Really appreciate the questions. Thank you very much to our panelists, Mayor Burton, Councillors Giddings and Haslett-Thiel. Thank you very much, Stephen Crawford and Anita Anand, for participating and joining in. Hi, Anita. Oh, there's Stephen. Good. I wasn't sure if you'd left us. Thank you all for joining us. Everyone else, please be sure to sign up for the CMGRA newsletter. Follow us on Facebook. Be sure to sign up for Dave and Janet's Ward 3 newsletter. It's awesome. It's excellent. The mayor has a newsletter every day, gives you the COVID numbers amongst a multitude of other information. Enjoy the libraries and the museums because things are opening up, and while we're being careful, let's support them. Please make a donation to one of our food banks. There's real need in Oakville. Wear your masks, wash your hands, stay within your bubble. Please stay safe, be well. Hopefully our next AGM will be in person Thank you for joining us tonight. Happy Thanksgiving and good night.